Before helicopters were common, most people believed the vertical flight was impractical, too unstable, too complex, too dangerous. Airplanes made sense. They moved forward, used speed for lift, and followed predictable rules. Helicopters did not. They challenged gravity directly, and for decades, that challenge defeated engineers. But there was one man who refused to accept that vertical flight was impossible. His name was Igor Sikorsky. Long before his work reached Connecticut, Sikorsky's life was already defined by persistence. Born in the Russian Empire in the late 19th century, he was fascinated by flight from an early age. As a child, he built model helicopters powered by twisted rubber bands. They barely lifted, but the idea stayed with him. As a young engineer, Sikorsky turned first to airplanes. He became one of the most accomplished aircraft designers of his generation, building large multi-engine planes at a time when many doubted they were even possible. Then, revolution changed everything. Political upheaval forced Sikorsky to leave his home and start over in the United States. He arrived with little money, limited connections, and no guarantee his ideas would ever fly again. But what he had was conviction. He believed that aviation was not just about speed or distance. It was about usefulness, stability, reliability, saving lives. And eventually, that belief would lead him to Connecticut. In the early years in America, Sikorsky struggled. Funding was uncertain. Projects failed. Support came and went. Many engineers would have adapted their ideas to survive. Sikorsky did not. He waited. And when the time was right, he returned to the idea that had followed him since childhood. Vertical flight. The challenge of helicopters was not power. Engines were becoming strong enough. The real problem was control. As a helicopter lifts off, its spinning rotors create torque that wants to spin the body in the opposite direction. Early designs fought this instability with complicated mechanical solutions that rarely worked. Sikorsky saw the problem differently. Instead of fighting torque, he balanced it. The solution was elegant: a single main rotor for lift and a smaller tail rotor to counteract torque and provide directional control. This configuration seems obvious today. At the time, it was revolutionary. It worked because it respected physics instead of resisting it. By the late 1930s, Sikorsky had built a helicopter that could hover, climb, descend, and move with control. Not briefly, not dangerously, reliably. That success changed everything. Connecticut became central to this transformation. In Stratford, Sikorsky Aircraft established operations that would define the future of rotary wing aviation. This was not experimental tinkering anymore. This was production. Connecticut's manufacturing culture mattered here. The state was known for precision, discipline, and finishing work. Not rushing ideas to market, but refining them until they were dependable. That environment suited Sikorsky perfectly. The helicopters built there were not designed to impress crowds. They were designed to work, and work they did. Early Sikorsky helicopters proved their value in roles airplanes could never fill: search and rescue, medical evacuation, ship-based operations, difficult terrain. Where runways did not exist, helicopters thrived. Pilots described them as demanding but honest. There was no illusion of automation. Every movement required understanding and respect. But when handled correctly, the machines were incredibly capable. As global conflicts and emergencies expanded, the helicopter became indispensable. Military forces relied on them. Emergency services depended on them. Industries built around them. And behind much of that evolution stood Sikorsky's original design philosophy: stability first, control above speed, reliability above spectacle. These helicopters were not disposable. They were maintained, upgraded, and trusted with human lives. That trust was earned over decades. Igor Sikorsky did not live to see all the consequences of his work, but he understood its purpose. He once said that the helicopter was not a machine of war, but a tool for mercy. That belief shaped everything. Connecticut-built Sikorsky helicopters pulled survivors from oceans, mountains, and disaster zones. They reached places no other aircraft could. They turned vertical flight from a novelty into a necessity. Today, Helicopters are everywhere. They are so common that we forget how radical the idea once was. But every time one lifts straight into the air, hovers effortlessly, and moves with precision, it carries the legacy of careful thinking and restraint. It carries Sikorsky's solution. The story of Sikorsky is not about speed records or flashy innovation. It is about patience, years of failure, years of waiting, years of refining a single idea until it was ready. That mindset is rare, and it is exactly why Connecticut was the right place for it to mature. This is what true engineering looks like. Not loud, not rushed, not reactive, just deliberate progress, grounded in reality. The helicopter did not change the world because it was exciting. It changed the world because it was useful. And usefulness, when engineered honestly, lasts. That is the legacy of Sikorsky. Not just an aircraft, but a philosophy. One that still rises vertically every day. If you enjoyed this story, consider supporting the channel by liking the video, sharing it with someone who appreciates quiet engineering, and subscribing for future stories like this. New documentaries are released regularly. Thank you for listening.